Welcome back to another episode of the Profitable Home Services Podcast. Hey, as we're recording this, it is Thanksgiving week, and it's a busy week, but it's also a week that we want to take a few minutes and just be thankful. I know that by the time you listen to this, we'll be past the Thanksgiving week time period, but that's okay. Take a couple minutes in your day and just pause and think a moment about what are you grateful for today? I know I'm grateful for each of you that tune in and listen regularly to this podcast. Without you guys, we'd just be talking to the air. So thank you so much for that. I'm grateful for each and every one of my podcast guests who have given us these amazing episodes over the last 2 years. Well, and on that vein, I would like to introduce Eric Wick to you as he is my guest for this episode. And Eric is the founder of Safety Team Technologies. So, welcome, Eric. You want to give us just a short little overview of what is Safety Team Technologies?
Hi, Diane. Thank you so much for having me. And I
You're
am also
welcome.
grateful for you inviting me here to be on your show. So thank you. Yeah, Safety Team Technologies is a platform that we created to greatly simplify safety compliance for blue collar businesses and primarily contractors and licensed contractors that work in the trades. So it's a done for you platform. That's how it's different from the other digital platforms out there in that you set up a date for your first safety training video to play through our platform, and then all the future dates are going to be automatically scheduled, and the videos are pre-selected and customized based on the industry a client works in, and then the attendance tracking is done in an automatic fashion. So it's a set it and forget it system, and it helps our small business clients stay compliant with OSHA and also prevent rising workers' comp insurance premiums. And it also helps shelter them from lawsuits, which is something that we'll probably get into during this
Well,
show.
yeah. So, Eric, tell me in a normal blue collar home services business, how do they handle safety requirements, safety meetings, or do they even?
Yeah, that's what I was going to start off with is, I was a commercial insurance broker for close to 20 years, and the bulk majority of my clients were contractors or other high risk industries. And so I chose to go after them because in terms of, prospecting them to be my clients because they tend to have the most pain when it comes to their insurance program and then also dealing with safety regulations. So I would say 9 out of 10 smaller contractors between the size of, let's say, 1 to 100 employees cannot generate 12 months of safety training attendance records when they're asked to do so during an audit. I sat in on probably between 2 and 3 dozen audits, and I would say it was like 9 out of 10 could not produce the attendance records. And the ones that could were ones that worked in high profile industries, like, let's say, a general contractor in San Francisco that's strictly regulated by the union. And if they're not doing tailgate meetings at least every week, they're not allowed to step foot on a job site. And so when you're in that position, you're going to get the safety trainings done. Otherwise, you can't work. But for the contractors that don't have that strict of guidelines to follow, it's rare that they have the time and the capability to perform the safety trainings the way that OSHA wants you to do them without having a major productivity drain. And so that's what I've seen. It's a struggle for just about everyone.
So, I'm going to show my lack of knowledge in the OSHA world and say, what happens when OSHA steps on your job site and you get audited and they start asking for those kind of records and you can't produce them? What happens at that point?
So generally, they're gonna tell you that they're coming to your office, right?
Okay.
Unless there was a really severe injury, one of your employees got hospitalized, or they had a limb that needed to get amputated because they were
Ooh.
injured at work, or a fatality occurred, which are not pretty things to think about or talk about. But this is what happens that leads OSHA to just automatically show up at a job site.
Okay.
But if they show up either at a job site or an office and they ask you to start furnishing safety training attendance records, or they want to see your IIPP, which generally is the first thing they always ask to see, and that's your written program, which really isn't that difficult or time consuming to put together. It's implementing the program that's
Hmm.
time consuming and very difficult to enact. And if you're not doing that, what OSHA will generally do is if they're coming out to audit you, either because one of your employees was disgruntled and they called OSHA and said, hey, my employer isn't doing anything for safety, they have no regard for our well being, you got to come out here and audit them. And the employee just did that because you really upset them somehow. Um, but when OSHA comes out for something like that, they'll generally give you a warning and they'll say, hey, you couldn't produce safety training attendance records. There's no proof that you're doing any hazard assessments at your job sites. You did have an IIPP put together, but it was not complete. There's a lot of missing sections. So, what they're going to do is give you a long list of everything that you've got to put together and start enacting. And they're going to come back in 60 days. And if you don't have any, if you just ignored them and you set
Hmm.
aside everything they told you to do, then you're going to get a fine or a penalty. Um, Sometimes the OSHA auditors give you another 60 days, but that's only if the person you're dealing with is very lenient. In a lot of cases, though, if they told you to do something and you haven't made any effort, they're going to fine you.
Wow. Okay. This is pretty serious stuff then.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, our clients that have dealt with this are now doing things by the book because they've seen just how scary it gets when you've got OSHA coming in telling you you've got to spend all this time putting all these safety programs together and starting to schedule safety training meetings with your workers every other week. In most cases, it's every 10 business days for licensed contractors. And you just can't find a way to get it done. It's you're not just open to the OSHA fines, you're open to attorneys that get hired by injured workers who will also interrogate your safety program. And what they're adding on when there's already, like, let's say, a workers' comp claim that's open and the employee hired an attorney to try to maximize their benefit of that
Hmm.
open workers' comp claim. And the attorney starts asking these other questions about, well, how often were you pulled into a safety training? Were you guys doing tailgate talks? Does your employer show you that they have an IIPP and go over it with you? And if the answer is no, 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 no to all of that, the attorney can add on what's called serious and willful misconduct. And
Oh my
essentially,
goodness.
it's saying you're a business owner, you're hiring employees to do a job that is dangerous, and you know you're putting them at risk of injury, but you're doing absolutely nothing to train them in the safe way to perform their job. And so, if you're if you're not abiding by the state safety laws, then that's considered serious and willful misconduct.
Okay. Wow. So this gets serious really quickly then.
Oh
Or it
yeah,
can get, yeah, serious very
it's
quickly.
tough because businesses tend to think that these risks like serious and willful are going to be covered by their insurance, by their workers' comp.
Uh-huh.
And I've been on the other end as a workers' comp broker early on where they were mad at me because they're like, "Well, hey, we're getting this lawsuit and the reason we buy insurance is so we're covered from lawsuits."
Right.
And I try to explain to them, well, you're supposed to have a safety program, and that's outside of your insurance, right? That's
Hmm.
on you to follow the law. I mean, they try to, and I'm not saying that this is bad or unusual, but it's very common to try to kind of play the ignorant role. Like, I
Hmm.
didn't know we were supposed to do this. But the reality is, when you're taking your contractor's license exam to get your license, there are a lot of questions on there about safety that you have to know to pass the test.
Hmm.
So most contractors know that they have an obligation to perform safety training, to have tailgate talks, to have a written safety program. But it's so easy to just put that task off to the side because you've got a lot of other things you got to do
You're
to run a
busy.
profitable business, right?
Right. Yeah. I'm thinking I cannot remember any of my clients over the last 30 years talking to me about any safety meetings they've had with their employees or tailgate meetings or anything. Like, not even. I can't even imagine that was in a conversation. That
Yeah.
makes me wonder how many of my own clients are following those guidelines.
Yeah. I mean, most of the time it's the workers' comp carrier that comes out and does an inspection and asks to see those records, but they don't do anything if you don't have them. So then the business kind of, whoever's handling the
Oh,
workers'
okay.
comp inspector gets the feeling like it's kind of like an unspoken reality that no one really cares if you have your safety training attendance records or not. But the reality is, if you can impress that workers' comp inspector when they come out to do your site survey, which they always do, and they say, "Hey, do you have your safety training attendance records?" and you can furnish them, you're going to get a discount. You better believe you will because you're already above 90 to 95% of the other companies that they insure. If you show proof that you're doing your recurring tailgate training.
Wow. And I know that just from my own clients that I work with, how expensive workers' comp could be depending on which state you're in. But some of the states, it's like we just kind of like, whoa, they paid that much for workers' comp insurance. So
Yeah.
it's a big number.
Yeah, the worst I've seen is a roofing contractor in California. Actually, they were a tear-off contractor. So their guys are working on roofs, but the employees really aren't even skilled enough to do a roof install. They just go up there and they rip off old
Rip it
roof
off. Hmm.
and throw it into a dumpster. And so these guys were all low wage. So if you're in the roofing category, but your employees are paid below a certain wage, your rate is going to be significantly higher.
Right. Yeah.
Then he had 4 or 5 guys get hurt over the course of, let's say, 5 years. So his experience mod was like a 1.6.
Oh,
I
no.
kid you not, he was paying more than 50% of whatever his annual gross payroll was. Multiply that by, let's say, 55%, and that was his workers' comp cost.
Oh,
So if
my
he's paying a
goodness.
million in payroll, he's paying an additional 550,000 in workers' comp. And you
Wow.
probably won't be surprised to hear he is not in business anymore.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, that would have killed his business. Yep.
Yeah, you can't survive when there's competitors out there that he's competing with that either A, have a clean injury record, so their workers aren't getting hurt.
Mhm.
So instead of them paying a debit or a higher rate for their workers' comp because of bad claim history, they're actually paying less than average because they have no claims in their history.
Mhm.
That's how the experience mod works. It either punishes you for having a bad claim history or rewards you for having a good claim history.
Mhm.
So when you've got competitors that are paying half or maybe even 20% of what you're paying for their insurance, how are you going to compete with them on your
No, you
bids,
can't.
right?
Yeah. That's a hard one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. What are some of the pitfalls that home service business owners should be I mean, talk today, paying attention to in the course of an OSHA audit? What are
Yeah,
things
so
that you do up front?
well, so okay, I'll walk you through what to expect if OSHA comes to your door, right?
Okay.
They're going to audit you. So first off, they're going to want to see your IIPP. That's Illness Prevention Program. I
Okay.
consider that the easy aspect of safety compliance because in this day and age, I mean, you could go to ChatGPT and you could tell ChatGPT what industry you're in, what state you're in, how many employees you have, and say, please create a formal IIPP that would help my company pass an OSHA inspection. And please include all of the required elements of an IIPP. So that's heat illness prevention. If you're in a cold state, like you mentioned, you're in northern Idaho, so your clients may have to have a cold stress prevention program. If they're working around silica, they need to have a silica safety prevention program. But I'm telling you, you could put all this in the ChatGPT. It will give you the formal program in a matter of seconds. I highly recommend you proofread it, go
Yes.
through everything, make sure it has your company
Carefully.
name. Yeah, carefully. But it's going to get 95% of it accurate, if not more.
Hmm.
And all you have to do is put that into a binder and have it available at job sites, right? If you have different job sites going on. You should have copies of it available for the employees at the job site. That gets you through 50% of the audit. There's a few forms in the IIPP that employees are supposed to sign. There's a form called the Code of Safe Work Practices. They're supposed to read it and sign it. The Hazard Communication Program, they're supposed to read it and sign it. But once you have all of that in place, I mean, you're halfway through the audit. You're already looking really good in front of the auditor. It's the other 50% where I see almost everyone fail. And
Okay.
so the next thing they're going to want to see is that you're implementing the IIPP. So, A, are you scheduling on a regular basis tailgate safety talks? So you're supposed to get together with your workers. In some states, it's once a month, but in most states, it's biweekly or every 10 business days. You get together with all the workers and in their primary spoken language. So in a lot of cases, it has to be Spanish and English. You present a safety topic that's relevant to the work they do, and then you take attendance. And you got to keep these records for at least 3 years to have them ready for an audit. But like I said, if you show them their workers' comp care, you're going to get a discount for that too. But it's like a deer in headlights when I'm in an OSHA audit and they ask for that.
Oh,
And
yeah. I can imagine.
whoever they're meeting with is like, I know we're doing our trainings, but I don't know where our records are. Someone might have taken them home. Somehow they're lost. I don't know what happened to them, but we're definitely doing them. Trust me. It's okay. Um, and then the other is the hazard assessments or JSAs. Sometimes they're called JHAs, but it's periodically when you start a new job, going through the job site and doing a hazard assessment. So check out the ladders if your employees are using ladders regularly. You have to inspect them, inspect all the small tools they're using, see what other hazards you might identify at a job site. And if you do identify a hazard, you're supposed to write up an identified hazard report. And so these are things that OSHA is expecting you to do if you work in a higher risk industry.
Like roofing or even electrical, and
Absolutely.
you bet.
I
Yeah.
mean, even if you're lower risk, let's just say you're like a residential electrical service provider where, you know, households have an issue with an outlet that's not working or their smoke
Mhm.
alarms are like my house, the smoke alarm's going off for no reason at all. There's no smoke. That's an electrical problem.
Mhm.
Um, there's not a huge risk of injury or safety accidents, but OSHA still wants to see you're doing at least once per quarter a hazard assessment at a job
Okay.
site.
Wow. Okay. I think of so many of the people we work with are in and out of people's homes all day long.
Yeah.
And
So it's
so
not
the
really a
what?
normal job site, but
Yeah.
even if they just go through, let's say in their truck or in their van, all of the tools and equipment
Okay.
the employees use, and you can find very generic and standardized checklists, hazard assessment checklists
Okay.
that you could print out for any industry, and just once a quarter they could go through the checklist and check off that they evaluated the tools and equipment.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. There's a lot of record keeping out there.
Yes, it's not fun, and like a lot of companies don't do it, but that's how the government makes easy money, right? So it was like 10, 15 years ago. I remember clients were telling me, "Uh-oh, the state of California is in a budget deficit." So you know what
Uh-oh.
that means.
Oh, yes.
OSHA is going to
Uh-huh.
be knocking at your door.
Yep.
And this one client was like, "Yeah, coming soon to a job site near you, Cal OSHA." And that's because it's an easy way. I hate to say it because no business owner wants to hear it, but it's an easy way for the regulators to come collect money for the government because they know how difficult they make it to comply and pass
Mhm.
those inspections.
Yeah.
And that's the whole reason why we created the platform we created was just to make it just to create a set it and forget it platform that's automated for these smaller service contractors that just have such a difficult time trying to comply.
Right. I remember many, many, many years ago when I lived down in California for a while, one of those budget shortfalls hit, and the sales tax audits went from maybe I'd only seen one and several years of working to many coming in at a time because
Yep.
they were looking for ways to raise money. And
Yep.
they were nailing every business on the sales tax. If it wasn't sales tax, it was use tax. And they were
Yeah.
getting every business on it, pretty much.
Yeah.
And
So
that
you
was a
see it a
tough
couple times
period.
and then
Yeah.
you got to prepare your clients because it's
Yeah.
high risk it's going to happen to them too.
Yep. So, yeah, when anytime states get tight on money, they start looking for things and they can find it in a business. It doesn't take them too much, and they'll find ways to get money out of you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's tough being a business owner
it is. And
because
Hollywood's picture of all of us business owners who do nothing but hang out on the golf course, three martini lunches is not quite true. We all work really hard.
yeah, I
So,
know. I mean, I got so used to having to explain it to my clients when I was a worker, when I was an insurance broker. Why are all of our premiums going up? We had no claims, right? We're doing everything by the book. You, Eric, came in and put together our safety program. You created a mobile app and a digital platform that does all of our safety meetings and it gives us a digital way to do our hazard assessments. So why are we getting another increase?
right.
And it's like it's industry wide. And when the insurance companies are losing money because what's happening, they've been calling it social inflation and nuclear verdicts. So someone is
Okay.
involved in an accident where they got injured
Mm-hmm.
and they found out that the person that caused the accident was working for a business when it happened.
Oh, okay. Deep pockets out there somewhere,
Yeah,
huh?
it's like they automatically assume, oh, this was a business. Well, I'm going to get a major payday. I'm going to go get myself a lawyer and we're going to go after
Mhm.
everything that business has. And sadly, like when it comes to a court trial, the verdict is just awarding these like absolutely
Yeah.
unbelievable amounts to the plaintiffs. Like, and it's like, it's almost like because you're a business, you're automatically guilty and you have too much money and you need to share that money
Sure.
with
Yeah.
these
Yeah.
poor people that you injured.
Yeah. Even though it was one of your employees that probably did it, not you yourself, the business owner.
Right.
And yeah. Yep. I've had a couple of clients go through that and they ended up paying a lot of money, even though they had insurance, they still ended up paying a lot of money out for things that either weren't covered or deductibles. And it was a very tough road to hoe there for a while.
Yeah. I recommend, to my clients, get yourself a small umbrella policy,
Uh-huh.
depending on what your sales and your revenue and what your assets are. Because like a standard general liability policy will cover 1 million per claim, 2 million per year aggregate. But if your company's doing 10, 20 million a year and you have a lot of assets and one of your employees goes and let's say gets in an accident with a school bus and a bunch of kids are
Oh
hurt
no.
or just something really bad happens,
Mhm.
they're going to come after you. So it might help to have, a $5 million umbrella or something like that.
Mhm. Yeah, and things that we don't always think about as a business owner. We're so busy getting that next job done, getting that next job scheduled, making sure that, John showed up on time for work today. Just, oh, and we got a van that broke down. I mean, there's just so many things that the business owner has to take care of that this kind of stuff can slip through the cracks pretty easily.
Oh yeah, I see it all the time. So I used to tell my clients, hey, as your insurance broker, this is how I'm going to earn your commission. I'll come out if the right size client that, meant enough for me in terms of commission, I'll come out to your job sites and do your safety trainings for you. And what I had to do was like lug around a projector screen and a laptop and a Bluetooth speaker and like 100-foot extension cord and find a little shady spot and I would play a video in Spanish because like 80% of the workers are Spanish for my clients that are, framing contractors and construction companies. But they loved it so much and they appreciated what I was doing for them so much that they'd refer me to all the other businesses they knew. So
Hmm.
it worked really well for me as a broker, but I was stretching myself way too thin.
Oh, yeah, I
'Cause
can
I'm just
imagine.
driving around all over the place, going to job sites, doing safe playing videos, and that's when the idea kind of hit me. It's like I gotta find a way to automate this, and let's have these videos stream like in a mobile app where the employees
Hmm.
can watch them remotely from a tablet or their mobile phone, get it done in a couple of minutes, take a little quiz to make sure they paid attention, but
Mm-hmm.
then have the attendance forms all populate electronically in an account where the company can access them.
Mm-hmm. Wow. I bet your clientele was very, very happy and very grateful
Oh,
that you went that far because most insurance agents would not do something like that.
right. Well, I found out early, like the insurance industry is so crowded with brokers.
Mm-hmm.
It, I mean, you probably have clients that tell you their renewals coming up next month. They're probably getting 5 to 10 calls a day from brokers. Hey, can I quote your insurance? Can I quote your
Right.
insurance?
Yeah.
So I didn't want to play that game. I wanted to have my clients refer me to other businesses
Mm-hmm.
by me doing things for them that no other broker is willing to do.
Right.
Yeah,
So
and then when
homes.
we launched our mobile app and the
Mm-hmm.
digital platform, uh, I had all my clients ready to sign up for it.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was easy for us to get it off the ground, start testing it, see what bugs needed to be fixed. And then that's how we got our initial momentum was they started referring us to
Mm-hmm.
other construction companies or contractors. Hey, there's this platform that could just automate your safety compliance for you. I recommend you check it out. So,
Sounds like it was something very much needed. And
and even my clients were the ones that helped. They invested to pay to have everything created.
uh-huh.
So they helped me form the company and everything. So yeah, I
Wow.
knew we were on to something when they were
Mm-hmm.
willing to give me an investment
Mm-hmm.
to help create the whole platform.
That is a pretty cool story. Tell us another story about something that you saw back, or even since you've been in the newer business, maybe not even in your insurance days, of where it paid off to have the safety records and proof that your employees were getting the training they needed.
Sure. Yeah, well, we've had probably four, maybe five of our clients go through the audit with
Mhm.
OSHA. And it's interesting how it's almost kind of in some cases it's like the auditors when they see that you have everything in place and not only do you have it in place, but it's very easy for you to access it.
Mhm.
Like they love seeing that deer in headlights when they ask for the 12 months of safety training records. They like to sit back and make you feel uncomfortable. My client calls it the shakedown. He's like, "Oh, you're going to go through the OSHA shakedown." He's like, "That's no fun." And then after they give you the shakedown, then they give you the old reach around, and that's when they put their hand in your pocketbook with their fines and penalties.
Mhm.
But yeah, I've seen. So one client just called me to say, "I want to thank you again for the system you created," because he was trying to get a job with a big general contractor down in the South Bay. And the GC said, "We're only going to award you this job if you could show us proof that you've got a safety program in place, that you don't just have a binder, but we want to see you're doing tailgate meetings with your workers." And so he just opened up the app on his phone and he was able to log in as an admin, selected a date range for the attendance forms he wanted to download, pulled them up right there and showed them to his potential customer. And that was just instant credibility, right? So he ended up getting awarded that job. It was like a half a
Mhm.
million dollar job, and he had to call me and thank me because it's going to set you apart from the competition when you have your program together, that well. You've got your safety training records in your phone,
Right,
you know,
right,
because it's just so common when someone asks for those records that everyone says they have them, but no one can ever show them. They're like
right,
these
right.
invisible forms that they keep somewhere,
Hmm.
you know?
Well, they especially don't have them in their truck out on a job site.
Yeah.
It's
Well,
not where that's,
oh
yeah.
no, of course not. But I mean, I remember I thought I was doing my clients a huge favor by going out once a month and doing a safety training. And then when one of them, so there was an employee up on an extension ladder, like more than 20 feet off the ground. And you're supposed to have, if he was like, I think helping to build a frame. So he's hammering a nail into a
Uh-huh.
stud, but he was leaning way off the side of the ladder. And then the ladder wasn't secured down at the base near the ground. So the ladder slipped out and he fell. And my client called and it was an interesting conversation because they're like, well, he's not really that badly hurt, but all of his teeth fell out and he broke his jaw and he
Oh,
had a
goodness.
concussion. And I'm like, oh, but he's fine, right? Because they're like, he's not really that badly hurt. But anyways, he's in the hospital and OSHA is coming out tomorrow. And so, and they're like, so we lost the safety records that you've been giving us because that's very common too. Like these pieces of paper with the employees' names, they're just going to get lost. But fortunately for them, I still had them. So I sent it to her and she goes through the whole audit and then she goes, the auditor's still going to fine us because he said, the auditor said, not only do we need to be doing a tailgate training at one job site, we need to be doing it at all of our job sites. So all of our employees get the training and they can't just be once a month. It has to be at least every other week. And then we also are supposed to document that it was done in their language. We can't just tell them, oh, yeah, it was in Spanish. We have to show proof. So that's when I realized, like, man, they just make it almost impossible to
You
comply.
do.
Yeah.
Wow. Almost a full-time person's job going from job site to job site
Yeah.
doing
And so,
training.
yeah. So for the companies that can afford, they're in a position where they can have one or two full-time safety people. Maybe this platform that we created isn't exactly the best fit for them because they don't feel the pain.
Right.
And they're like, well, we're already paying these guys a salary. We give them benefits. Like, why are we going to pay more for a digital platform? Even though we could still do it a lot cleaner and make it a lot
Hmm.
easier. Um, yeah, we're a great fit for the companies that don't have a means of getting this done without really hurting their productivity.
When we were talking offline, you shared a story with me about being able to decrease uh the
Experience mod?
yeah, well, not even that. Yeah, the experience mod, but going down from like 3 incidents in a year to 2 incidents in a year. Can you talk a little bit more about that? I thought that was very interesting.
Yeah, so it starts off with just how much the experience mod and that the experience mod goes up, which causes your insurance rates to go up when you're having workers get injured. And every time the insurance company has to pay out for a worker injury, it's not just the cost, the medical costs to get the employee on the way to healing again. It's also the lost time. They have to pay for the disability, plus the administrative expenses the insurance company has to pay. So the average worker injury ends up costing $40,000 to the insurance company. But like I was saying to you, after it's hit their experience mod and their rates for 3 years, the company, the business owner, ends up paying sometimes double what the carrier paid. So if it's a $40,000 claim for the insurance company, it's going to end up being like in some cases 80,000 that the business
Wow,
is paid out in increased insurance.
that's
Um,
amazing.
so I wanted to be able to show proof to our potential customers and our existing ones that if they use our platform for 12 months and you're getting at least 85% of your employees to do the training on a regular basis, we're going to prevent at least one claim. And that
Okay.
one, if we could prevent one claim, one worker from getting hurt, that is going to give you a 5 to 10,000% return on investment for how reasonably priced our platform is versus how drastic the impact is on your workers' comp premium when a worker gets hurt. The savings is just it's unbelievable.
Hmm.
So, like I was telling you, I had a client that had no claims on his experience mod record, right? He'd been in business for 10 years, and within the past 4 years, which is what the insurance company looks at, he had zero injuries. So he had an experience mod of like a point 0.7. Let's say he had normally a $10 rate, so a 10% rate for his workers' comp. So if he has $1 million in payroll, his normal workers' comp premium would be $100,000 a year.
Hmm.
But because he had no claims, he had a point 0.7 mod, so he's paying 70 grand a year. That's a 30K savings. He had one guy get hurt, and then when that hit his experience mod, it went up to a 95. So now instead of paying 70 grand a year, he's paying 95K a year.
Wow.
And that stayed on his record for 3 years. So that's $75,000 that he paid because of that one
Yes.
worker getting hurt.
That's
And
amazing.
if he paid just the average cost to a client for our platform is $1,500 a year for like a 20 employee company. $1,500 a year that prevents, if it could just prevent one claim, that's saving you about $75,000. Let's call it
Right.
72,500 because you have to pay for our
Mhm.
platform. Um, so yeah, we looked at 15 of our clients. I said, "Hey, send me 5 years of your loss run reports because I want to look at the 4 years before you were using our service and look at what your claims record looked like. How many employees were getting hurt per year on average?"
Mhm.
And then the year that since you've been using our system, how has there been any change, right? Any impact in the amount of injuries you're having? And so obviously the prerequisite is for this to work, the clients that sent me their loss runs had to at least have a couple of claims.
Right, right.
So we ended up getting 15 clients that had claims that sent me their loss runs, and 13 out of 15 of them had at least one fewer claim after they were using our platform for a full year. So I was showing them how that's like a 5,000% return. I did the math on investment, and that's not even factoring in the shelter that you get from the legal risk, like OSHA
Right.
and
Yeah.
attorneys.
Right. It's like found money, even though in your head you're thinking, but I didn't spend it. Yeah, but you didn't have to spend it. So it's found money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
it's
not good.
so but I know it's harder to justify you feel like I'm spending money on something new, so I'm
Right.
spending more money, so it's hurting my profit.
Right.
And it's like, well, obviously, the person saying that hasn't suffered the pain of skyrocketing workers' comp premium and then all the inspectors and auditors and everyone giving you the shakedown at your
Right.
office.
Yeah.
Because just the time you have to spend alone dealing with those inspectors is a huge drain on your productivity and therefore affecting your revenue and your bottom
Mhm.
line.
Right. Well, since we're on the topic of revenue and bottom line and that type of stuff, I'm going to say it's time for our magic question. So, would you please share with our listeners a hidden or unique profit leak that you see when you're working with these home service business owners?
I mean, I would just go right back to workers' comp and how the rates change from year to year. And I rarely see my clients adjust their pricing, when they're going out and bidding jobs based on what their renewal came in at. And so that's a profit leak. If your broker comes to you and goes, "I'm sorry, it's a hardening market," right? We have all these nuclear verdicts, like I said, in the social inflation, and plus there's been all these fires and natural catastrophes. A lot of business owners out there who have been in business for a while have seen over the past 4 or 5 years their
Mhm.
insurance costs have gone up. And so if they're not adjusting their pricing to compensate for their increased cost, then that's got to come somewhere, right? It's coming right out of their bottom line.
Right. Yeah.
So just keep an eye, tell your broker that remind them it's their job, right, to stay on top of this for you. And so if your insurance premiums went up 20 to 100%, then you need to take a look at how much you're charging your clients and bidding on new jobs. Because if you're not increasing to account for the higher insurance, then you're going to have a profit leak.
Right. So, wow, thank you for sharing that one. That's a profit leak that we've not had before. So, I like it when we get a new and unique profit leak to share with everybody.
Yeah, it's one to keep in mind. And I know it's just that nobody wants to think about insurance. Nobody wants to think about safety. You want to spend the minimal amount, the least amount of time possible thinking about these things. But that is what's going to separate a really great company from like a mediocre company or a company that's going to fail. Is
Right.
that the
Yeah.
best companies truly have the best safety programs, not because I mean, maybe it is because they're saints and they really just love their employees and they never want to see anyone get hurt because we all feel that way. But it's because they know how much it's going to affect their bottom line.
Right. Yep. And they're all about protecting that bottom line number.
Yes.
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 Yeah.
So they know how big of an ROI it is when you've got a bulletproof safety program.
Right.
And if you
Yeah.
don't have the time or the money to hire a full-time person or the time to do it yourself, oursafetyteam.com. That's our website, oursafetyteam.com. You can just go and just check it out and download a free OSHA compliance checklist from our website. And you could just see how your company measures up for your current, whatever you're doing now for your safety program versus what OSHA is going to look for if they audit you. Because that's what our checklist is built on. Exactly what they're going to ask for if they come in. So you can download that for free from our website. And yeah, I mean, it's just a free resource.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. And listeners, be sure and go out there and take advantage of that free resource that he just shared with you. Because I'm sure that you're wanting to know if you haven't had to go through an OSHA audit, what will they ask? And
Yeah.
how can I get ahead of the game and not be proactive and not reactive? So thank you, Eric, for coming on the program today and talking about this really sexy topic.
I know, right? Hopefully, some of your listeners are still awake,
Yeah,
or they're
I
just not
hope
so
so.
upset about the legal hoops they have to jump through that, they're still engaged. But
Yeah, yeah. This was a good topic, and it was one that was really needed. And I'm sure that there's other listeners out there going, wow, I had no idea. So hopefully they'll go to your site, download that assessment, and reach out and contact you. So, listeners, thank you so much for spending part of your day with us. Remember, it's not all about that top line revenue number. It is all about your gross profit percentage and your net profit percentage. Because if you don't have good, strong numbers there, your business won't succeed. You won't be able to survive long term going down the road. And we want you to be wildly profitable. It's my term for this year. Let's all be wildly profitable and then to be proud of it. Come join me in being proud to be profitable because that is a badge we all need to be sharing out there. And that it is a good thing when we're profitable because we are the backbone of this country. We employ the people that keep this country rolling. So if you want help identifying your profit leaks and help with putting your pricing and your service lines and all that type of stuff into the right categories and where they should be, please reach out. I'd love to help. We have a profit boot camp that runs periodically. We've got our group coaching program, our profit amplifier program, our profit maximizer program, as well as a few others out there. So we've got something to fit everybody's needs. Reach out. We'd love to talk to you. We'd love to get to know you. We always have free resources. So be sure and check our pages for whatever the current resource is with this particular episode. Thank you so much, and we'll catch you on the next one. Bye bye. Have a great rest of your day.